and trying to find something to lose weight. Now, growing up, our family life was like the picture of dysfunction. My mom suffered with severe panic disorder to the point where sometimes she couldn't leave the house, and my dad depression. When their marriage failed, our whole family felt covered. So my brother and I ended up being raised with my dad. We were very low income. And so we relied on a lot of foods that were very easy, that didn't have to be cooked. Actually, many of the places that we lived in didn't even have a kitchen. So things that were microwavable, we lived for like Wednesday discount pizza night. Anything that was just quick and easy, and everything was carbs. And I've heard many people talk about Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and that was my jam too. I mean, every day. Soda was my only beverage, which blows my mind now. I would literally wake up in the morning and drink soda. And it wasn't unusual for me to drink a 2 liter of soda in a day. At this age, it's already tough enough. Like, you're trying to figure out who you are. You have all the cliques at school and things, and I realized at a very young age that I didn't fit in. I was being made fun of. I already had stuff going on at home. Like, everything was just kind of like bowing up against me. And I really started just kind of knowing that like a lot of the things that were going on at home were really reflecting in like the way that I was taking care of myself and the way that I valued or saw myself. So let's see a raise of hands by how many people have noticed in their life that they emotionally eat, right? So this is very, very common. At the time, did I know that I was emotionally eating? No, I was just like, hey, I'm having a bad day, and my dad would be like, let's go get some ice cream. So this became a vicious cycle for me. So things would be going on at home, my mom would be losing it, something would be going on, I would be like, I'm hungry, I need to eat, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I would eat, and for a minute I was like, man, I feel better. Like, something, for a minute I can take away from the stress and anxiety and the sadness that I'm feeling. But then that leads up with feeling like, oh great, I've failed, I'm doing this again, I'm eating all this food, I know it's not good for me. I know in my mind that this isn't what I want to do, but I fall back into the cycle. And then I'm like, well, now I feel guilty, and like, what do I do when I feel guilty? I'm going to start eating again. So this is where, at the very, very young age of my life, I developed this belief, and I fully believed it, that for me to be happy, I needed to be thin. And now looking back, it's just crazy because so many people who reach out to me can relate to this. We see in the media, like, all these thin people, and I used to think in my mind, like, they must have the perfect life, like, they must have no struggles, like, that's all I have to do is I have to be thin. And on top of it, which was always kind of interesting, was my brother was raised in the same household I was. He ate the same junk that I did, and he was thin, and he was popular, and he did sports, and I was like, okay, so thin is happy. This is my belief. This is where I'm going with this. So from that point on, I just decided like every New Year's resolution was around weight loss, so that's just my thing. And here are some things that I tried. Let's see a show of hands of someone who's done at least 2 of these in here. Yeah. So, when you grow up your whole life struggling with weight, wondering if you're capable of doing anything, low self-esteem, and really struggling with your value, and you try these things, and then each time you fail, or you stick to it for a little bit of time, and then you fall off, with each failure, you kind of start getting used to the idea that maybe you're just not capable of change. Like, maybe it's just not in you. Like, maybe this is your life. And so with that, I gave up. I was like, I have tried everything. Like, it's not that I don't want this. Of course I want to lose weight. And it used to drive me crazy when people say, like, well, just stop eating. Stop eating so much. And I'm like, well, with weight, it's not something that we can hide. There's a lot of addictions that people can be out there, and you would never know it. But I had to carry it around. Everyone knew that I had a weight problem. And clearly, if it could just be fixed so easily, I would do that. And at this point, there were so many times in my life where if it would have been that click moment of like, this is the time I'm gonna really do it, many of them came and went. For example, when I was engaged to my husband, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm not gonna be in a white dress in front of a bunch of people overweight. I'm gonna lose weight, it's gonna be married in a size 26 wedding dress. My own mom was like, hey, are you sure you really want to have like a wedding photographer at your event? Like there was a lot of like pain, even within my own family, and shame around my weight. And you know, I don't think she really meant to like rip me down in that moment, but like she knew that like when I saw pictures of myself, like I put them away. Like I didn't want to be seen, and I hid. So like even being here today, I'm like, holy moly, like, you know, it's something that, you know, we realize that like fear a lot of times comes from the stories that we tell ourselves of who we are, what we're capable of or what we're not. And a lot of it is just fear, and fear is just something that we have to move through. Fear is a feeling. So my stepsister was always on my butt. She was like, listen, I don't want you to give up on yourself. I think you're a beautiful person. I feel like you have so much to offer. Like, you have a daughter. My daughter was born in 2013. And I really wanted to be healthy for her as well, but I just couldn't seem to get it together. And as a new mom, like, you're exhausted. You're kind of grabbing things as you go. And so my very first step was quitting soda. And this is always something that I go back to, because a lot of times when we tell people about keto, we kind of like want to talk about all these amazing steps and almost getting to like a gold standard of like the, you know, all the list of things that we think they should do. But sometimes what we really need to do is just give people one step. And this is huge, because people who have gone through a life feeling like they can't be successful at something, sometimes they just need that one thing to say like, I was successful at something, like I can actually do something. So I stopped drinking soda, I started drinking like sparkling water, and I lost 24 pounds in a couple months. So I was like, wow, sugar is a problem for me. Like, how did I not think about this before? So one day I was on Reddit, and wasted lots of hours on that website, but I did find keto from there, and that is just, it was like something about this person made a post, and it was like their before and after picture. And it really resonated with me that they were just sharing their story, and they had nothing to gain from it. So from years of looking for like a weight loss solution, I was so tired of being sold to. I didn't want to buy shakes. I didn't want to put my food in little like colored containers of what I could eat in them. Like I just wanted to learn a lifestyle change. So I was like, all right, keto, I'm gonna give you a shot. And if this doesn't work, I'm gonna get gastric bypass because I can't do this anymore. Like I'm miserable. So January 1st, 2015, I was like, all right, New Year's resolution, I'm back. And I got a plan, and it's keto. So I weighed in at 289 pounds, and this is my picture from the first day. And then, halfway through that day, I caved. And I'm like, wait, this was supposed to be the thing. Like, but a lot of times, like, what happens is, like, we get so used to being on that same path that we have to stop and say, like, oh, here I'm doing it again. So I only made it through the first day, and then I was like, well, this is my thing. This is my routine. This is what I do. Here's further proof. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I can't do this. I don't know. And then I had what a lot of people call their click moment. Now, my daughter was already getting to be at the stage where she's like walking and running everywhere, and I'm like, holy moly, she's a lot to keep up with. I was waking up in the morning absolutely exhausted. My body hurt, my knees would pop when I was getting out of bed. Like, I was in really bad shape. I was so depressed. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to be seen. And so I wanted to lose weight for her, but there was still just something kind of like missing in my perspective. And this happened actually in early January. The second picture, my really good friend's son was diagnosed with Tay-Sachs disease, which is a terminal disease at 1 year old. A year later, he didn't even get to make it to his second birthday. And, sorry, and even in that moment, I was like, my life and my health is in my hands, and I was given this healthy body besides everything that I'm doing to it, and I am not going to take another single day of my life for granted in this little boy's honor. So So this was my first 5K. This is the summer scamper that they do at Lucille Packard in Stanford. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I went and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this 5K. I barely can walk across the street, but I'm doing this. So I went and there are racing shirts. The largest size is like a 2XL, and none of them fit me, so I didn't get to match anybody. But the cool thing is that every year I do this 5K, like once a year, because I still don't love running. Just being honest. Every single year that I did the 5K from this point forward, my shirt size was like down and down and down, and now I get to wear like their men's extra small, and I'm like, yes! Like every year it's so fun. So this is when I really realized that like on top of keto, I needed something else. And what I needed was to realize that my mindset the whole time was in the wrong place. So, how many of you in here have heard about the growth mindset? There's a book out there, and I definitely recommend that you read it. So basically what happened was, I went from saying, failure is my limit. So I failed, I'm stuck, I can't do anything else. I mean, I've tried. When I'm frustrated, I give up. Like, I'll stick to what I know, and what I know is that I can't change. So I shifted from that to the growth mindset, which was, yeah, okay, I failed, but it taught me maybe what didn't work. That doesn't mean that I'm a failure, it means that I keep going. And I learned that feedback was constructive, so I was learning and I was reaching out and I was connecting with people. And I just decided that no longer was I gonna be a victim of this mindset anymore. I was gonna go all in. So Keto Take 2 happened. And I think a lot of times we often put off whatever we're gonna do, whether it's starting a business or losing weight or accomplishing goals. We're like, we'll do this next week or next Monday, and next thing you know, it's 10 years have passed. So I kind of was like, I'm not gonna wait for a Monday, I'm just starting today. So on January 13th, I started. 1 month later, I had lost 21 pounds, and I was like, yes, all right, I'm in my groove. But I still wasn't saying anything to anyone because I had been the girl that cried wolf for most of my life, so I was like, I'm just gonna keep this to myself for right now. Second month happened, and I lost 32.6 pounds total by that time. And more importantly, on top of the weight loss, because that was definitely my focus, going into this, I was like, I feel like a different person. I just feel so much better. So, a lot of people say, all right, Suzanne, you tried over 20 things to lose weight. What was different about keto? So the very first thing that I think really helped me was that my appetite and my cravings decreased. I was literally hungry all the time before I did keto. I could literally eat lunch. You could call me and say, hey, you want to go have lunch? And I'm like, let's go. I was always ready to eat. My energy level increased. So no longer was I getting up in the morning and being exhausted or eating my big bowl of pasta and then being exhausted after that as well. Now this is the one that blows my mind the most out of all these. You would think that being a yo-yo dieter and trying everything my whole life, I would have some kind of foundation of nutrition. I had none. Keto was the very first thing that I tried that actually taught me about the food that I was eating, and then understanding the metabolic impact of my body, so that I wasn't not eating something because it was good or bad or guilty association. It was I'm not gonna eat this sugar because I know what it's gonna do to my body. So then I replaced this guilt, shame, oh, you're doing this because you need to lose weight and you're bad, to I know what this does and I don't want you. Sustainability and satisfying meals. We've all been on the diets where we eat a chicken breast and a side salad or something, or we just try to have something that is lacking flavor. And it's all right, you can do that for a couple weeks and you're gonna fall off. With keto, I feel all the meals are so delicious and flavorful. They keep you feeling full a long time, and there was just the fact that I could go out with my friends and I didn't have to worry about counting points or putting things in containers, and the fact that I could just live a normal life is a major, major, major benefit of this lifestyle for me. So with all these things, my emotional eating and anxiety went way down. So when you're not eating, chips and Doritos and all those things that are really easy to overeat, it's just really helps with that because I started working on, all right, am I really hungry or am I upset about something? Am I stressed about something? And you know, with keto, you're not gonna go sit on the couch and like eat a bag of Brussels sprouts. So like, I mean, I love them, but you know, having those foods like Doritos where you're sitting there and just like mindlessly eating, like it just kind of takes that out of the equation, and that really helped me. And increased mental clarity. From going from thinking about food and breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what was I going to eat out all the time, like just having that space to think about other things was just great. And I just think in general, not being in that like roller coaster of sugar crashes was just, I just felt so much better. So 10 weeks in, I filmed what you guys just saw, which like were the most awkward YouTube videos of all time. But I was just so excited to connect with other people. So I had lost 37 pounds at this point, and we launched Keto Karma. And so I started sharing my story with others, and I was nervous, but I just really wanted to connect with other people and get a support system for myself, and also to share about keto because not many people were talking about it 4 years ago. So I connected with others. That was a really big help. Gained a support system, and the support system, I cannot emphasize how important that is. For a lot of people in my life, a lot of my friends would come and say to me like, oh yeah, like I have to lose like 10 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, I hate you. And, like, why would you say that around me? I have to lose 120 pounds. So I really needed people in my life to know what it's like and what it's like to wake up and have all these struggles, because you can feel so alone in the struggle of that. And even though you know a lot of people struggle with their weight, like a lot of people don't talk about it because there's a lot of shame in it. So the accountability was great. I filmed a video every single week for a year. So you can watch kind of as my stories go through, like everything that I'm going through, the ups and the downs. And that really made me embrace vulnerability, because that first video was the first time that I ever said my weight out loud to anyone. My husband didn't even know how much I weighed. And just getting that off my chest was just amazing in itself. And that was just led to a lot of growth and healing. I was able to actually kind of process things and really just kind of let go of some of that stuff. So in 1 year, I lost 100.2 pounds. And 2 years later, that last 20 pounds, like when people say to me now, like, oh, I have 20 pounds to lose and it's a pain, I used to be like, oh, really? But I get it. Like the last 20 pounds are a pain. So 2 years later, I had lost 121 pounds. And I did also have some skin removal surgery as well after I had lost the weight. And they removed about like 7 pounds of extra skin and tissue after losing weight. So now I'm like, all right. Lost the weight, I'm like gonna be happy. Like this is what I've been thinking my whole life, right? So I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, okay, I have body dysmorphia. I'm often kind of like looking at spaces and like wondering if I can fit through them or not. I'm like never thin enough. I'm still questioning my self-worth, my value. I still like I don't really know where I belong. I feel like I relate more with people who are like struggling with their weight, and then some of these like workout moms and their like athletic pants, and you know, and you know, a lot of people talk about self-love, but like the way that I was talking to myself didn't really reflect that. It's so much easier to be like, yeah, that's self-love, but then I'm like, oh, like God, this looks bad at you, or your legs have a lot of loose skin, or like, you know, all the things that we say to ourselves, and we're all guilty of doing it. We tear ourselves down so much more than even people in public do. So at this moment, I really realized that the cause and effect of my life and what I thought was going to make me happy was flipped. So my old belief was I'm depressed and I feel unworthy because I'm overweight. So overweight is like the problem. And then I realized that it was part and due to actually being depressed and feeling unworthy in the first place. So I was like, I need another step to my plan here. Keto is amazing. I love it. It's worked like nothing else. I feel amazing on it. My mindset's changed because I know now that fears of failing and I can move past it and I can do pretty cool stuff. But now I need to work on self-love. And this is where counseling entered the equation. And I was like, okay, I've been through a lot. I've been teased, been made fun of like relentlessly. We had a lot of problems going on at home. And I just knew that I really needed to kind of like dig in and work through that, because so much of this stuff is like layers of an onion. There's so many things that people go through that can lead them to where they are. So one day my counselor was like, have you ever heard of this method called kintsugi? And I'm like, no, go ahead, tell me about your, feeling stuff. But I love it, and it's resonated with me enough to share this with you. So it's actually a Japanese art of fixing broken pottery, and what they do is they mend it with silver or gold lacquer, and the whole point is that understanding the breakage and repair is actually part of the history of an object, making it more beautiful with its imperfections. You guys know that we live in a bit of a highlight reel society, and so many of us try to just put everything together so tight and put on such a big smile and move throughout the day, but really what we need is to celebrate the cracks and the broken pieces and the pain that we've been through, and to talk about it, to share, and to know that that doesn't make you broken or unvaluable. That gives you a level of empathy and connection and compassion for other people to connect in a way that you wouldn't have had if you just had a perfect life. So what I love about this is not only does this make this piece more beautiful, but they fill it with gold, so it's legitimately more valuable because of this repair. So then I was like, all right, time to practice self-love. I'm going to stay open. I'm going to be seen, which is super scary, and I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. So I actually went to school to be an ultrasound tech, and I was, at the time thinking like, am I going to keep continuing on this path of talking about keto? I love it, but I'm just go for ultrasound. What do I do? And then the very next week, my publisher called me and said, would you be interested in writing a book? And for a minute, my fixed mindset came in and said, Suzanne, who are you? Like, you don't have any degrees. Like, you don't even know how to write a book. Like, I mean, you gotta tell them no. And then my growth mindset's like, girl, like we've just kind of come through this big journey. Do it. Like, you'll work through it. You'll figure it out. So a year later, my book came out, Simply Keto, and since then it is now an international bestseller, which so with this whole thing of being seen, it's so funny how sometimes if we just kind of like put our intentions and our heart and our compassion out to the universe, it just meets you right in the middle. Almost to the point where sometimes you're like, hold on, I know I said this, but like, can you give it to me a little slower? So right after my book came out, I got a call from the Today Show, and I was like, here we go. So flew out there, was on the Today Show. I don't know if any of you guys saw that, but I was faced with a little bit of controversy on that first episode, but it was okay, it all worked out. It's really hard because we still do have a lot of people who think that the standard American diet is like the way to go. And with the help of all of you, we are really changing things, and I just want to thank all of you for that. So after the Today Show, it was my first time ever being in New York, and we got snowed in. It was like that cyclone thing where, we were stuck. So I had just gotten home after like 3 days of trying to figure out how to get home, and I got a call, and they're like, hey, Live with Kelly and Ryan wants you to come on. And I'm like, okay, I know I said I wanted to be seen, but like, this is, my goodness. So I got back on a plane, flew to New York, did that, and then also, I guess about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was on Dr. Oz as well. So, I kind of realized in all of this that like, the things that we really want in our life and the things that we care about and want to connect on and share about, we can't let the fear stop us. Even being here today when Victoria was like, do you want to speak? I'm like, you know that I changed my major in college to avoid public speaking. Like, I don't really know, but I care so much, and I know that you guys care so much, and the impact that I see in this is just, it's so important and it's so big that all of us have to really be out there sharing. So I want to just leave you with 3 things that I've learned along the way. The first thing is, take a step further than keto. So while keto is great, I think when we're talking to our friends or our patients or even ourselves if we're going through the journey, it's great to have keto as a plan, but there's just so much more. Like the mindset is so important because we can have the most perfect plan in the world, but if we don't believe in our heart and our ability to do this and to know that this is an investment and not a punishment, we're only going to do it short term, if at all. Progress, not perfection. This is really important. Celebrating those small steps. You know, if I see somebody who's posting on Instagram and they just went through a drive-through and got a bunless burger instead of fries and shakes and whatever things that they normally got, I'm like, that's amazing. Is it the most optimal thing ever? Maybe not, but that's a huge win for them. And we need to celebrate the fact that people need stepping stones. We can't expect people who have struggled with their whole life with weight or whatever they're going through to start from day one to a gold standard. So give people the grace and encourage them in those steps because that may be like a huge thing for them to just have the willpower to do that, and we need to support that. And be vulnerable. So what I learned the most through all this is shame thrives in silence. So the more that we all pretend that everything is fine all the time, it builds up more shame in ourselves. After sharing my story, my friends were like, Suzanne, like, why didn't you ever tell us that you were so sad? Like, we would have loved to like supported you or talked to you or you know, done something, but I had so much shame. So it's so important to be vulnerable. I mean, we don't need the highlight reels. We need to talk about the struggles and things that we're going through. So I'm going to leave you with a quote from Brené Brown, and she's one of my favorite human beings in the world. If you haven't checked out her books, The Gifts of Imperfection, Braving the Wilderness, Dare to Lead, they're incredible books. You are imperfect. You are wired for struggle, but you are worthy of love and